Yes, I did enjoy WandaVision very, very, very much.
Yes, I enjoyed watching the show.
Yes, I enjoyed watching the show.
At first, I didn't really like watching the show WandaVision, but then it got good at the end.
Yes, I really enjoyed watching WandaVision.
Yes.
Question 1 is yes, I did.
Very much enjoyed watching WandaVision. It was very interesting, and it's a show that you can get attached to very easily.
Yes, I did enjoy watching the show WandaVision.
Yes. WandaVision was something that for just over 2 months was a show that made my week different. It was Fridays became WandaVision Day, so for sure, I absolutely enjoyed watching it.
If I were to describe it to someone, I would probably say it's very trippy and very confusing at first, but then it gets really good and very action-packed.
It's a superhero show that goes through different stages and time periods of grief.
Interesting, but it's a little confusing. There's lots of superheroes, but it takes place in different periods of time, so that's the confusing part.
So the show's basically about Wanda. She's very sad that Vision died in Endgame, and then she kind of like creates like a replica of him, and then like wants to live like a normal life. And then basically that's what it's about.
I would just describe the show to someone by saying that it's a show about the Scarlet Witch and Vision, but it's not really like any other Marvel show, and I would say not to give up after the first 2 episodes.
It's pretty hard to explain if you don't know a lot about Marvel, then it'd be kind of hard to comprehend.
It's very interesting, but in the beginning it's a bit weird, but as you go on in the show you'll start to understand them.
The first 1 or 2 episodes, it was very bland, and like you didn't know what was going on, but like in the 3rd episode and on, like you knew the concept of it.
Well, in the beginning, it's kind of boring and slow, but in the end, it's worth it, and it's very exciting to watch.
This is a good question.
A few moments later.
I guess I would just say it is an interesting take on sitcoms through the decades with a sprinkling of Marvel Universe magic on top. I think that's probably the easiest way. It does start off phase 4, so if you're somebody that hasn't watched all or most of the last 10 years of MCU movies, it should be okay to just start now. You should watch them all, because honestly that's what makes the show so special, is it builds on 10 years of created history.
My favorite character either has to be the twins or Pietro, because I really like all 3 of the characters.
My favorite character is Wanda because she's one of the most powerful superheroes, and I like her backstory.
Character is either Wanda or Vision because they have pretty cool powers.
My favorite character is probably Vision because I've always liked Vision since he was brought into the MCU, and he's just cool and very powerful.
My favorite character in the show was probably Monica, because I think that she was the smartest.
I like Vision because he's just like a pretty cool dude. He's one of my favorite Marvel characters.
Of course, because she's the main character and she has really cool powers, and it's just, yeah.
I think my favorite character is probably Wanda because she's like the main character, and she's really the only one I paid attention to.
Vision because he's very cool and very strong.
Honestly, my favorite character in the show is Jimmy Woo. That is the FBI agent from Ant-Man. So he's got some really cool moments, and it's also, it folds in some Easter eggs in there too, some references to his time in Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I would go with Jimmy Woo. Love that guy.
Hello, my name is Christian Pack, and today I will be talking about a hobby I picked up during COVID, which is modeling, and more specifically gun pull kits. So, I picked up modeling due to, I just was interested in it for a while. I used to go to a Korean store called H Mart, and it had a whole bunch of other stores too. It wasn't just H Mart. H Mart's like a grocery section part, but there was a Korean store in the back area, and it had a whole bunch of Gunpla kits in the window. I was always fascinated by them, seeing all the giant cool robot kits. And after COVID, I went there once again, and I saw it, and I got my first one. So I built it, and I was interested in the hobby, so I kept doing it, which is how I got started. Probably my favorite thing about modeling is the customization of it, because it's every single time you're not going to get what the box has on the cover. Yours is always going to look different in some way if you decide to paint it, and also the one on the cover is always painted. So even if you don't paint it, yours looks different from the one on the cover, which means yours is unique, and any mistakes you've made, it makes it also unique, such as if you lose stress marks, which are caused from cutting the runners too close to the piece, and if you don't sand it properly or something, then there's always something special or unique about your piece. Some advice I would give to people if they were ever interested in actually doing modeling is that you shouldn't be worried if you accidentally mess up painting, because that's what paint thinner is for, and paint thinner is basically a savior for everything. If you think you messed up a project, then you can just simply paint thinner. That's my answer. You can use paint thinner and fix everything, because all the paint will just get washed away and you can restart. It's like a blank canvas again. What else you could do is have other unopened boxes on hand, which are you can do after you finish the project. Another tip I would give to beginners who are interested in starting would be to do your research before you actually start, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Like if you don't know how to prevent stress marks, then a lot of your pieces will probably have it. And you probably won't also know how to get rid of them. You don't want to accidentally break pieces. And you also want to know what kind of supplies you need to get and what you can do with and what you can do without. Like some people just make do without modeling glue, like for Gunpla, because it doesn't actually require it. But if you want to have certain pieces that won't fall out, like you technically don't need it because most things click in place easily. But if certain parts, like I do this sometimes, is I use modeling glue to make sure my pieces stick together and cohere well. But if you don't, but you can do without it. So if you decide you don't want to do that, you can do that if you do your research, because you actually know how to do what you need and do what you want. And lastly, overall, it's just fun to see what you build, because it's fun to see the end result of things, the fruit of what you made. Like, you made something that's just a shrunk down version of something. Like, it could be 144, like a 1 to 44 scale. It could be a 1 to 60 scale. But either way, it's the model of something just shrunk down, so it's kind of cool, and it's jointed, and you can actually have function with it even afterwards, just trying to pose it and have fun with it. So that's one of the best parts about it, and thank you for watching my video.
So, I was a bit bored during quarantine, so I decided to look around the App Store to see if there was anything interesting, as one does. I found this game called Evolution, and the main purpose is to try create life using basic components such as bone and muscles. Well, it turns out you can create much more than life. You can create cars if you wanted to. I decided to make a cannon myself, which I'll bring up here in a second. So this is my cannon. It looks a bit confusing, but once you start playing this game for a little bit, it gets less confusing. This looks confusing too, but it's pretty much the same cannon tested out multiple times to see how it will react in different environments. Not too bad. As you can see in this test, it didn't work too well, but this right here is the best attempt I got out of that generation, as this game calls it. In a second, it will cut to me fixing something that I found wrong with the cannon, and that'll help it a lot. As you can see, one of the muscles, which is the long red things, I took that out, and because I realized it was breaking my cannon a lot. And after that, as you can see, it looks you can see in the background the other ones are doing better. The one that's here isn't doing much better. But yeah, there you go. There you go. Now you can see it's doing much better. And that's the cannon shooting successfully. Not really cannon, but that's what I like to call it. And that's pretty much it for this thing. Now on to the last part. So I had this great idea, since I've been playing this game for a little bit, that I would decide to do a competition with everyone on the BNN. So pretty much, I want everyone to send in pictures of them playing this game, and their best attempt and their favorite thing that they built. I'll look through. You can email me. My name is Steven Wazalik, and you can find me on Gmail. And I want you to email me your images, and I'll rank the top 3 of them to see which one I deem the best. I'll also try to get better at this, but you never know. You never know. You might do good. You might do bad. It's all about the testing. So I hope to see some really good submissions in the near future, and that's pretty much it.